All right, welcome back to the next video. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at mist. So, as I said in the last video, this is actually looking a little bit flat. Now, it may not really seem like that. I mean, there definitely is depth here. You know, we have, I can tell there's a background, sky, that sort of thing, but we can push this a whole lot more. And what we're going to be doing, if you remember from the last video, I talked a lot about how in the distance you'll see blue mountains, that sort of thing, and that was because where you are standing and from the mountains, in between that is atmosphere. It's not just nothing. There is atmosphere, and that atmosphere builds up, and since the sky is blue on Earth, you're going to see blue mountains, and that is essentially the reasoning behind that. And that's what we're going to be trying to do here. Now, as I've said before, you want most of your darks to be in the foreground and your lights in the background. Now, I did a pretty good job with that, but with this technique, it can be a little hard to control that. But don't worry, we are about to solve that problem. And what we're going to do, we are going to select our soft round tool from our brush pack, and should get this round. I think it's a default brush, but I've included it anyway. And I've already made a layer, and if you want to make a layer, just delete that real quick. You can press this button right here, and that will make a layer, and I'm just going to call it mist. Okay, so what we're going to do is our sky here is kind of like a greenish cyan color, and that's really our basis for our atmosphere. It's not quite blue, but I am going to put it just a little bit towards the blue side. And what I want to do, I want in my color picker, I want to have the brightest option, and I want to kind of have it pretty saturated actually. And just about there, sort of in the middle to the right. And just go ahead, press OK. Okay, so now that we have our brush loaded, what we're going to do is you need to figure out what your grounds are. So I see these mountains here. That's kind of the super background. And then in front of it, we have this whole kind of section here. And that's sort of the background. Then we have this kind of middle ground and a foreground. So you just need to establish like what is your ground. And it's going to be very different for each landscape you do. You're going to have to use your best judgment on that. So on this new layer, make sure you're selected on it. We're going to go over to our lasso tool. If you right click on it, go to your polygonal lasso tool, and you're going to want your feather. You want to feather it to about 2.5. And that is pretty important, so you know the mist is not like really a hard edge, and I'll show you what I mean right now. So I want to separate this background, and to do that, we're just gonna make sure our lasso tool is equipped, and I'm just gonna go ahead all over the edges here, and I really am concerned towards the bottom, and I'm just gonna kind of carve my way out. Establish where I want these mountains to be showing. And I'm just going to go ahead, go along here, go up, go down here. You don't have to be super accurate with it, but try your best. You know, you can do it without the lasso tool if you want, but it can get a little messy that way. So I do recommend it this way. It is a little slower though, but more accurate. So this kind of goes up here. And then over here, and I'm just separating these ground. I'm separating this mountain from the rest of the grounds. Okay, so then it kind of goes up, and you don't have to follow the top here. So I'm just going to kind of do that. And there we go. That is a very small ground, but it's way in the background, so that's okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and select our soft round tool. We already loaded up. And what we want to do, this is on a very low opacity, and you want to layer it up. So I'm just going to go across the bottom here. Okay, and I'm just gonna keep going back and forth. I'm gonna be lifting up my pen. I'm lifting it up, then pressing down, lifting it up, pressing down, and slowly you will see this kind of fog forming, and or mist. And if I just hide that, you can see what that did. And this is really, really going to help you, or it's going to help the image seem much less flat, much less flat. And this is really, really, really useful. And also, I like to add a little bit of white in there, really, really just towards the bottom. And that, just like that. So if I just deselect here, you can now see we have a bit of a fog going here. And since you done a separate layer, can see exactly what we did. Now we have that fog in that it really is separating that layer right there. And what we want to do is just do the same exact thing essentially, except now we're moving on to the next ground. So I'm just going to grab my tool right here, and we could separate this into a few grounds. I see some potential here. And I think what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to start in right here. Really, the more grounds you have, the better. You don't want like a million grounds. Like, I mean, you want to stick it at least 3 and at most maybe 8. You know, you can go a little bit more or less. But this is really, you're just using your best judgment here. And it's really up to you where you want to separate that ground. Now I'm thinking we can have some nice separation here. See, it's very blended together here. So I'm just going around here, right here, going like this. And I'm pretty rough with it. I'm not, I'm not super accurate with it. Very, very rough with it, I think, we can have something here. Can get a little hard, but you just, again, you're the artist. You have to make these kind of hard decisions like this. And yeah, so you'll see that over here, it gets a little flat, but that's okay. I'm just going to kind of do a straight line, sort of, right over here. And these mountain kind of rocks, fauna, whatever you want to call it, is going to be sort of the barrier. And I'm just going to go around here, go down a little bit, just like that. Okay. I think I have that part sticking up, just like that. And I'm just going to keep working my way left to right. And here, I think this is going to be a whole ground by itself, just like that. And almost there, almost there. Okay, so that's the end right there, and we don't have to worry about the top, like I said before, so we can just go right over it, just like that, and end it right here. When you see the dot or double click, go back to my brush, and the color we want now, we're going to want it more desaturated because there's less atmosphere. So we're going to see a more of a desaturated color. So I think right about here is going to be okay. And all I want to do is, again, just very slowly just add in this fog. And you want to have it stick towards the bottom. Now you see it's a little flat here, so I'm going to sort of get the whole gist here by pushing up a little bit. Not really staying towards the bottom, but not really staying towards, it's just staying right in the middle. Or, I mean, I'm sort of avoiding it altogether, but you can see where it was really dark here. I'm just going over that, just to give it that effect. And yeah, so this, I have it pretty big, sticking towards the bottom. And if you want, you can turn up the opacity if it's like a little, but a little not as potent as you want. So, okay, that's a lot better. Maybe 20% is better for whatever works for you, but I like to layer it up. Okay, so just like that. Awesome. So we can again preview what we did. And if you look over at the navigator up here, you can see just how much of an impact that has. So I'm going to zoom out here, Control D to deselect, and look at that. That is awesome. That is totally separating out what our grounds here. And yeah, that is so much better. Okay. Awesome. So we're going to move on to the next ground. Just go ahead, grab your polygon lasso tool. I'll speed this up a little bit. Okay, so now we have that selected, and just gonna do the same thing again. Just gonna go ahead, grab my brush, click on my color picker, desaturate just a little bit, come over here, and I just want to, and I'll be intersecting with the other layers, which is perfectly fine, but I just want to keep going here. Now I've already done that part, so just like that, you can see what I did, and you can really start to see that these grounds much brighter, and they're starting to get a lot more separated. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so now as we're getting closer to the foreground, we want to desaturate that color just a little bit more. And we want to start using just a little bit less. Don't go too crazy here. You want to preserve that detail, but you also want to have that ground separated. Now you can see I just kind of went straight across here. You'll definitely run into those. That can be a little difficult to deal with. And just focusing on the bottom here. And I might just go ahead and give this just a nice little coat, very, very lightly across the top there. And I'm going to go right near the bottom just to really give it that fog effect. Okay, that looks good. We can see what we did. All right, awesome. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave this here. Now you'll see that you might get things like that, and that's why we feathered it. But I mean, all you have to do, you can just grab your blending brush, and if we just do a little bit of this, we can just get that hard edge out of there. Just kind of blend it in just like that. Just right here. Blend it in just like that. All good. And let's see. Okay, I didn't really do much there. So okay, that looks good. Now, if you're worried that, let me just hide this real quick. So look at that. We have separate. Even if you look right from here to here, these look almost connected practically, and I just separated out just with that mist. And now you may be thinking like, okay, well, what if I did too much? What if I did too much? Like that, no problem. Pretty much all you have to do is come over here. This is why we did it on a separate layer. We can just go over to opacity. If you just hover the text, hold down left click and go to the left, you can change the opacity. And just like that, I just brought it to 10%. That was a little too much, but you can just control it like that. Now, maybe you're like, okay, but I didn't have enough. No problem. All you have to do is duplicate that layer. And to do that, you can do Control J. I'll select it, and it will double it. So now you can really see this mist effect. I actually like to overdo it and then work down. That's how I like to do every adjustment. But we can see this. Okay, obviously, this is just way too foggy. So, I did enough here. One layer is enough. And I like to make adjustments just like this, doesn't have to be too much, but that should help clear up the contrast in the background. Just like that. And all of a sudden, now we have a lot more depth. But in the next video, we're going to be creating a whole ton more depth. We're going to be looking at adjustment layers, and that is really, really going to separate things. It's going to dramatically change your image. Really have it all come together. We're gonna look at some filters. It's gonna be all good, all handy dandy. So real quick, I want to talk about glowing. Maybe you want something that's glowing, and luckily I have something here that I want to have glowing. So the best way to do that, it's very simple actually. We're just gonna make a new layer. We'll make it like a glow layer, and grab your soft round brush and go ahead, select the color you want to be glowing. Amp that up all the way to maximum brightness. And then all we have to do is, if you start out pretty big like this, if it's glowing here, what we can do is just we'll change that to like 20. If you just tap one, you're going to use your mouse here. If you just tap once, just left click once, just like that. And then you want to work your way into the light source. So I'm just going to make this smaller. Work my way down here, click once, or maybe I'll click twice, and then make it smaller. You can click here. And this is a pretty big light source, but I'm just working my way down just like that. And as you can see, it's a little weak, but that's no problem. Like I just said, we can duplicate that layer by doing Control J. We want to do 2 copies, and then we can do Control E twice to combine that layer, just like that. And you can see now we have this kind of glowing effect, which is really, really awesome. And that might be a little weak, but what we can do, we can just go back in and just really make this apparent here. We can actually make this complete white and just really make it seem like it's glowing by adding that light source down there. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I really like it. But as you can see, now we kind of have a glowing effect. And you can do that really anywhere you want. So, I mean, maybe you want this in the sky. Sky is a little bit dark, I think. So, I mean, we can just go here. Just go here. And let's see, if I wanted like a sun here, I could do this, do a little clicks, and I can just make that smaller. Work out big, then go in small. And if we can see here, we have a little bit of glow. Not too much, but I'm okay with that. You know, I can kind of have it glowing out over here if I want to. And these are all the details that really make it come together. Just kind of come over here. Okay, that looks good. And if I just hide the mist and glow, you can see that everything kind of flattens up. But if I unhide it, you can, unhide it, we can see that now we have all this. And it may look a little bit less contrasty, but that is okay, because in the next video, we are going to really be making this sort of pop. We're going to be adding all these adjustment layers. It's really going to all come together, and just make sure that you're happy with it now, because pretty much we're pretty much done. Believe it or not, we're actually pretty much done. So if you're not happy with it, you can go ahead, go back, go in with the paintbrush, do a whole, I would hide these first and actually work from there. And then you can put those on, just so it might interfere or whatnot. And you might want to lock those layers so you're not touching those, just working on this one layer. And you can just keep switching back between the paintbrush, blending brush, paintbrush, blending brush. You just keep going back and forth until you're really happy with something. And I'm pretty happy with this. I really like the style of it, you know, and I think it's working out pretty nice. I really love the colors. But once we start adding all the adjustments, things are going to look much, much different. And once we add it all and then hide it all, this is going to look like really faded. Yeah, everything should look really, really nice after the adjustments, and I'll show you some cool filters you can do. And yeah, that will be really it. So yeah, I will see you in the next video.